Tom Cruise movies will continue to pique my interest until he has a string of bad films in a row. Now you tell me Tom Cruise is starring in a movie that's based on real life events, where a pilot goes to work for the drug cartels, as well as US federal agencies like the CIA, the FBI, and the DEA, and you have my attention. So, does American Made actually have a captivating story based on real life events from the 1970s and 80s, or does it fail to deliver? Let's go ahead and take a look in this review. So when I walked into the theater with a pretty open mind, because I didn't know the story that this is based on. I didn't know the characters. I didn't know like how everything is going to work together and the plot points are all going to connect to tell an engaging story. All I knew is Domhnall Gleeson is in it, Tom Cruise is in it, and Doug Liman directed it. Outside of that, I walked in with a very open mind, and when I walked out of the theater, fairly bored. I walked out of the theater going, wow, American Made was just made. Like, it didn't really move me. The moments that were supposed to be stressful, I didn't really feel stress in. The moments that were supposed to be humorous, some of them I laughed at, some of them I just don't feel that the jokes landed. It's just kind of like, that was supposed to be a joke, but it wasn't. And then most of the characters in this are forgettable. You're not gonna walk out of the theater, at least I didn't walk out of the theater, feeling like, wow, what an incredible performance by... That's the movie. The whole movie just kind of goes at this pace. It just doesn't, there's no ups, there's no downs, it's just kind of here. Tom Cruise continues to deliver on a great performance. It's better than The Mummy, but it's still just kind of a boring film that's there. The Mummy was a terrible film. This movie isn't terrible, it's just flat. However, Tom Cruise delivers as only Tom Cruise can. His performance is actually captivating. You can see the stress on his face, but the mood of the film itself doesn't match the level of performance that he's giving. So you're just kind of stuck in this weird thing where you're like, okay, Tom Cruise is good, but the rest of the movie, again, flat. There's characters in it that don't really do anything to drive the plot at all. Tom Cruise is married in this film. His wife's brother comes to live with them for a while, and he has like all of this money just hidden all over the place because, you know, he's running drugs and guns and everything for both sides, and he's super rich, and his brother-in-law like is just stealing the money, but then his brother-in-law eventually dies. Like, the cartels kill him as a favor to Tom Cruise, even though Tom Cruise didn't ask him to. Like, it's just a weird overall, just like, why is he even in the film? He did nothing to the plot. His death didn't really do anything for Tom Cruise's character by the end of the film, as we see. There's a visual style that the film is shot in to make it look vintage, but there's also like these pre-recorded tapes of Tom Cruise talking to us to give us more of the story, to give us more of the plot, to kind of fill in the holes, to give the backstory, if you will. And that also is even more vintage looking. So I didn't quite understand why there was like two different types of vintage look to the film. I get that that's an artistic choice and that's an artistic style that Liman went with, and okay. I just didn't understand why we had two different vintage looks going on at all throughout the film. It kind of was a little confusing and, in my opinion, a little over the top. So the last run that Tom Cruise has to do is a reconnaissance mission where he's actually dropping the drugs off and taking photos with the drug dealers as the exchange is taking place south of the border. So eventually those photos get released by the federal government, which tells the drug cartels that Tom Cruise is actually betraying them and he's been playing them, and they put a hit out on Tom Cruise. At the end of the film, we actually see that hit be completed. Tom Cruise gets shot in the head. That's the end of his character. That's also the end of the film. Now, while that's not very confusing and it's not very exciting storytelling in regards to how the film was shot, the idea of that could have been very compelling and very, you know, stressful and just heart racing, but it wasn't. It was very flat again. But the weird thing is, the film ends with a playback video of Tom Cruise talking about how great America is. And then as soon as you hear the gunshot, the playback film stops. And I don't understand why, because everything was already pre-recorded. So the playback film, in my opinion, should have just kept going until the end of the segment that he recorded, because he wasn't recording that segment when he got shot. He was recording it before he was shot. So it didn't make any sense. The ending didn't make sense either, because I was like, wait, why would it just end like that? He's not recording it and then he gets shot while he's recording it. He's already recorded it. Now he's left the house. We're watching the playback. The playback should be unaffected. It was very odd. I just didn't like the end. I just didn't like the end and I didn't understand it. But overall, the film is just kind of there, and that's kind of from start to finish, it's just flat. So American Made is in theaters right now. I'm definitely not going to give this movie any high fives, which is a bummer, because this is the second movie in a row that I've seen with Tom Cruise in where I'm like, no high fives for you today. Sorry, man. Still looking forward to Mission Impossible. I feel like that's going to be a great film, and that will kind of bring him back into the mainframe of pop culture, so that we're all talking about how great his movies can be when he's really like in a project that works. But American Made just doesn't work. Like I said, I keep saying this in this review, but it is just flat. It's boring. I walked out of the theater like, wow. I'm not even going to recommend you Redbox or Netflix this or any other VOD streaming service. Like, it's just a boring film that I felt like I wasted my time in the theaters. In fact, I kept checking my phone to see how much longer the film was going to go, because I was that bored during my time watching this film. So, American Made is in theaters. I recommend skipping this film. Now, if you happen to be laying on your couch on a Sunday afternoon and it pops up on your TV and you're too lazy to change the channel, okay, I get it. But otherwise, I wouldn't go out of my way to find this film.